Hi, everyone. I think to respect everybody's time, it's nice to start in time. What do you think, Mario?
Sure, Lilian. I'm agree with you.
Awesome. Okay, guys, so we're rolling into the webinar. I will make a brief introduction and we will go from there. Once again, hello, my name is Lilian and I was GMD at Streamline. Welcome to the fourth webinar in a series of the live webinars on anti-crisis supply chain planning, brought to you by GMDH Streamline, inventory planning and demand forecasting software in cooperation and partnership with our global experts like Mario, so we can discuss the ongoing issues right now. Today's topic is Excel versus software, agility and simulation, the capacity inventory planning process. The speaker of today is Mario Badillo. He is extremely experienced, is partner general manager of Proaktio. He has 20 years of business consulting and with technical solutions like ERP, CSP, and BI. He has more than 60 clients across Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, especially in the industrial and commercial sectors. Anyways, better than I, Mario will better introduce himself. So Mario, please go ahead, take a stage, and I will be backing up you if needed. Okay?
Thank you very much, Lilian. And thank you for all attendance. Please just give me 1 second to share my screen. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for your time and interest. And thank you, Lilian, for your introduction. The supply chain planning process involves the interaction of various stakeholders within the company. You know, on one side, the sales and marketing areas that incorporate market knowledge due to their proximity to the client. And on the other hand, the areas of operations that have a relationship with suppliers and manage the production plants. In an environment of uncertainty and changes, the speed at which these participants can collaborate and evaluate the different scenarios will allow the company for timely decisions for a correct balance of the supply chain. Given variables such as lower sales volumes, different demand dates, different supplier delivery times, or the impact of changes in cost prices must be included. Simulation capacity is decisive, not only for the optimization of the change, I think that also for the survival of the company in times like now. On the other hand, the planning areas in medium and small companies especially, but also in large corporations, are often managed using Excel as the main tool, which of course is very flexible and useful. However, is not a specialized solution that allows for streamlining the process. And there is the need for a certain level of expertise to obtain additional benefits from it. The objective of this presentation is to demonstrate how Streamline helps to interactions between all those involved in the planning process and how enables rapid evaluation of the different scenarios that may arise in time. Okay, give me please 1 second to talk about us. We are a consulting company that are specialized in identifying and implementing the best technological solutions to generate competitive advantage. We have more than 10 years in Peru implementing software to optimize business processes. We have a comprehensive vision considering not only the software, but also the business strategy, the process involved, the time of company, the level of resistance to change that always appear, among other factors. We work some business units and represent leading solutions as Streamline. And just 1 second about me. as Lilian said, I had the opportunity to develop good part of my experience working with world-class ERP systems, especially in inventory, purchasing, and sales processes. I participate in the implementation of manufacturing software, WMS, electronic commerce, among others. Related to supply chain planning, I had experience with Commercial Links that currently is part of the Infor Solutions, Forecast Pro, Demand Solutions, and Blue Ridge. I have had in these years the opportunity to work on various projects of different type of companies and in different countries. Starting on the topic, when we think about our planning process, I'm sure that we all want to have a structured, ordered, and automatically execute process, a fully geared process. We know that there are logical steps and actions that must be carried out so that good communication is established between these different actors involved in the process. On the other hand, additional to this process, we have data from the transactional systems where sales are recorded and inventory is managed. We have also extra information outside of systems, market information, environment data. On other side, we have people. And this diversity of elements makes the execution of the process complicated and does not always have the necessary level of integration or fluidity. And so we have a reality different than what we expected. A reality where the necessary gear or integration does not necessarily exist. And this, of course, this lack of gauging, of course, does not stop the company. Organizations can operate and develop their work in the best possible way, but this causes inefficiency, inaccuracy, wrong decisions, cost overruns. Grounding to this indicator of the planning processes, we have, for example, low fill rate, stock outs, overstocks, security stocks greater than the necessary, increasing the money necessary to those stocks, low service level, expired products, low turnover products. So it may be we arrive at the same destination. It's possible to arrive to the B point, but with a very high effort and cost, and perhaps in some cases when it's too late. As I was saying, we can apparently meet the object and arrive to the destination, but the lack of streamlining the process can generate effects that we don't want to respect. In order to optimize this process, our suggestion is to align it to a sales and operations planning structure, where we initially identify two macro processes that must be considered. On the one side, demand, and on the other side, supply. Each of them managed by a team of people, experts in their areas. The flow begins with demand planning, a detailed review of the market needs, of the competition, as well as of the history, sale, and the commercial management carry out, what happened in the past. The objective is to generate a realistic plan aligned with the company's budget and adjusted to the current situation of the new cycle. This demand plan constitutes the input for the supply area to analyze the plan's execution capacity, validating products availability, production, or purchase capacity, considering suppliers' reliability, production plan status, and associated costs. Once the demand and the supply plans has been worked out, it is necessary to reach a consensus and define a unique set of numbers, or the name it one set of numbers, that will be the objective that the entire organization must pursue in the planning cycle. To reach that consensus, it may be necessary to make adjustments both for the demand side as well as in the supply side, but we can thus anticipate as much as possible the effect of what's going to be achieved, be it at the level of sales, cost, projected inventory, and later focus on the execution and actions that help us to fulfill that plan. As we have commented, this process that I have explained briefly requires the participation, interaction, and alignment between the different stakeholders of the companies. And we can divide it into the commercial and sales areas, the operations, that includes purchasing, production, supply chain, as well as the executive group, each one developing activities proper to the role and responsibilities. If we start talking about the sales and marketing side, the work required includes history and market analysis that implies the review of the sales information from the transactional system. Often that information must be processed. For example, it needs to be grouped or cooked. It's necessary to analyze the units, need to be standardized or something like that. And this information is uploaded to the spreadsheets where the analysis will be performed comparing versus previous periods, or compare it against consumption standards by periods, or applying mathematical or statistical formulas in order to obtain a projected future sales. It is important to ensure the consistency of the information and that the assumptions that we adopted in previous periods are taken into account. Once the statistical forecast has been obtained, sales and customer input should be incorporated, including promotions, new products, launches, special sales or products, to ensure that this statistical plan becomes an integral future demand plan. Outlining this work, usually we have a sequence of steps, starting with the review of history in the ERP system or similar, starting on step number 1. However, it may happen that when validating the consistency of the data, for example, at step number 4, we realize that it's necessary to update the spreadsheet. So move to the step 3, sorry. Or also re-import the information, moving to step 2. Once the forecast is generated, for example, at step number 5, it's also be necessary to make adjustments to the data and move to the step 3, or to re-import the information, move to the step 2. And this flow may be repeated several times, iteratively, until obtaining a preliminary plan that will be shared with the supplier area. On the supply side, speaking about that now, corresponding plans also need to be generated. And for this, it's also necessary to take information from the transactional system. What does include the inventory levels of each product, the orders being purchased, produced, or transferred, transits in general, depending that of the company supply chain. The product planning parameters, minimum lot, multiple, maximum lot, supplier lead time, order point, safety stock, and also the available capacity of the plant, for example. This information should also be uploaded to specific spreadsheets or specific systems to carry out the analysis and the calculations that allow for the determination of the volumes of purchase, production, or the supply that fulfill the demand plan used as an input. The plans that are generated at this point are usually the purchase or production plan at a finished product level, the production plan for semi-finished products, a purchase plan for supplies and raw materials, supply plan for sub-distribution centers or stores, and to know the validity of the plans, usually this area did or perform an analysis of the purchasing, storage, or production capacity, or a raw capacity of critical resources. Trying to outline this work, we have again a sequence of steps. However, it may happen or will happen when review the consistency of the data. It is necessary to update Excel sheets, or it's necessary to re-import the information. In each one of these steps, it's usual to go back to other steps to rework the information. Flows such as 6 to 5, 6 to 4, 6 to 3, 6 to 2 are also presented. Like happens in demand, this flow may need to be repeated several times until the plan that complement the demand plan are obtained and together become the one set of numbers. As I mentioned before, once the demand and the supply plans are worked, we arrive at the consensus meeting where the previous information is reviewed, but assumptions are also questioned, adjustments are proposed based on past results or future objectives, and in this instance, the ability to recalculate the scenarios quickly and accurately is really important. In order to establish a final plan, a number of variables are analyzed, and typical situations are presented that must be reviewed and solved quickly. For example, it's usual to consider scenarios with adjustments in demand plans, and optimistic and pessimistic, a plan including possible exceptional sales, of a plan including conversely delays in anticipated business. Another variable subject to modification may be the vendor's lead time, either due to business situations or for situations such as those we are experiencing now. Modifying these lead times or the deadlines can totally affect the plan and the level of customer service. And of course, it's better to anticipate the situation and take any action. No? Related to this, we have also the reliability of the supplier. We know that in the new normal, it would happen that quarantine periods reoccur. How do we reflect those periods in planning? How do we adjust plans or delivery times? What happens if the purchase price changes? How does it affect our plan or our profitability? What happens if we modify our sales price? How are our income affected in different scenarios, and what is the projected profitability? No? Are typical situations and variable analysis that we need. All these situations usually are handled manually. We modify the spreadsheet, we recalculate the formulas, we create new tabs. But what happens when, or with variables that are more complex to analyze? For example, product expirations and availability periods that are difficult to reflect in a spreadsheet. It may be necessary to generate multiple files and probably incorporate extra system analysis. Can I get from the point A to the point B? Possibly, but following the streamlined process, I'm not sure. What are the main problems we face with this manual management or with a high demand of spreadsheets? Definitely the time it takes. If we talk about a process on a monthly basis, maybe we think that there is time to execute it, but that time should be invested in ensuring that we take the necessary actions to fulfill the plan and not to prepare and correct the plans on the fly. Time translates, of course, into added effort, into distraction from focus, and usually the need for more resources that, in other words, are extra costs. Another traditional problem is having outdated information. The data in transactional system is dynamic, changing minute as minute, day as day. So small gaps between the input of information and the extraction of data for planning may result in a failure to consider the 100% of the necessary transactions that has to be considered, or to avoid to, or to forget to take the updated data of certain parameters. Finally, as another main problem, how many times have you participated in meetings where there are different versions of the truth? My spreadsheet is not the same as your spreadsheet. All these affects the quality of the planning, the timeless and the efficiency, and of course the cost of the process. I suppose that these doubts are familiar to you when we work with a lot of the spreadsheets. We question about, is the formula okay? Could you copy to the other row? Is a row out of line? Is your data updated? And this affects to the whole process. We have seen projects in which this type of situations makes the process endless and exhausting. For example, prepare the spreadsheet could take 4 or 5 days, or prepare supply plans 5-8 days, preliminary review 3 or 4 additional dates, a pre-sales and operations meeting that optimal is to spend maybe 1-2 hours, spend the double of time, and the final sales and operations meeting also spend double or triple of the time. In other words, sometimes we need 20 days of the month to meet the objective, to arrive at the plans at the P point. In our experience, an optimized process and the help of specialized systems can reduce this time by 50% or more, and especially increase the quality of the information and the precision of the plans. But yet, incorporating specialized systems, incorporating technology is not always a priority in organizations. And then we have to live this crazy situation that affects the entire planet. These COVID-19 times, we are full of uncertainty, which makes the situation more complex. However, we have few certainties, and maybe one of them is that we need technology, that we need to work with technology. Through the world, we are experiencing remote work, and we are adopting it as a standard. Even in regions as Latin America, where, unlike other parts of the world, we have been very traditional regarding office work. It could be a joke, but COVID-19 is definitely driving many digital transformation processes. And in these COVID-19 times, we realize that we must optimize the use of resources. Optimize human resources, optimize time, optimize material resources, optimize money, optimize inventory. Can we continue working inefficiently? Can we continue working from point A to B along the tangled path? Today, efficiency can mean the difference between surviving or not surviving. So, how specialized systems can support us? How Streamline can help us with our planning processes? So let me resume how Streamline works. Streamline integrates with transactional systems to make the data upload process more efficient. It lets users read information related to items, sales history, inventories, bill of materials, transits, SKU parameters in general. And using these inputs, Streamline processes the information and generates the demand plan or first a forecast, the statistical forecast, applying various statistical methods and proposing the one that best suits the behavior of each SKU. Also, Streamline allows us to analyze in different models and working with aggregations, families of families of products, or at individual level. Then Streamline allows to incorporate marketing and business knowledge, allowing to make adjustments to the forecast, to incorporate promotions, to incorporate new projects, new product launches, obtaining an adjusted and documented demand plan that it's important to obtain. Additionally, at the same time, and also taking information that is extracting from the transactional systems, Streamline calculates the optimal supply plans, purchase, production, by answering the questions what, how much, and when, which are the key in the planning process. In other words, Streamline allow us to structure the process, to automate it, to speed it up, and all this based on this specialized functionality. Finally, Streamline allows us to get to point B efficiently. And especially, it allows us to handle with agility the necessary analysis for the modification of variables immersed in the process. As I commented before, changes in demand, lead time, process changes, etc. So let's see how it works. First, I'm going to briefly present the integration capabilities. Streamline allows the loading of the data from transactional systems in two ways. Let me please 1 second to change to the product. Okay. I select new project and I'm able to load in the data through the import of flat files, Excel files, or through using a direct connection to the database. Distinguishing features of Streamline is the ability to load data at the transactional level. Let me select this. So this allows a better understanding of the history and allows additionally that we could manage the demand even at the day or week level, which is usually very important in sectors such as retail, for example. So we use transactional, we can load transactional or aggregated data. Streamline is very intuitive and includes explanatory manuals and videos to speed up the learning process. I select transactional data. Select a source, in this case a flat file. And as you can see, the loading process is configured through a single interface, mapping the information of the ERP or the transactional system to a Streamline. I select how to upload transactions and map the ERP field with the Streamline field. Select each one of them and did this mapping. As well, as we can see before, there are established connectors for business systems such as Dynamics GP, Dynamics NAV, Shopify, and it's also possible to establish connections with any database using an ODBC connections. No? Sorry. In case of the integration with this ERP, with these default connections, for example, this that I am showing, Dynamics GP connection, when certain variables are specified, the extraction process is carried out automatically. In the case of generic database, the database connection uses SQL queries to import your data into a Streamline. Each of them is specially designed to import a particular piece of data. And as you can see, this database connection dialog has several tabs. Transactions, it's a mean for orders to receive. Each tab is designed to import particular data, executing a query that is inserted in this field. Through these queries, all the relevant information is uploaded, transactions, item info, and the system is ready to work. Let me cancel that. Okay. Now, I want to show you how we can manage data very quickly and review different scenarios. In the first example, we can see changes in demand. And to do this, we can directly specify values or apply factors or formulas. Let me change again to the software. I open an example and I select one product. I review the history and also I'm able to review the proposed forecast. I can change directly this proposed forecast. Instead of 34, 40, instead of 34, multiply 1.5. And it's also possible to work one by one or propagate the values along the periods. You could see how the forecast curve red and the projected inventory green are modified. If I change dramatically, I obtain the new forecast projection and the new inventory projection. This exercise can be done working with a specific product as I did, but it's also possible to execute at a family level or at the level of groups. For example, all electronics, all building materials, I'm able to change in the same way, and when reviewed at the SKU level, it was affected. Massive modifications can also be made through templates. How it works, I have an additional tab that is reports. I could select the final forecast. I'm able to review this final forecast in this section. I'm able to aggregate by group of products, by industry, by ABC classification, by supplier, or analyze SKU by SKU. I'm able to review what was the model type suggested by Streamline, the quality of the model, the ABC classification. But if I want to execute a massive modification, I export this report and I work over this template. Maybe I change this forecast. I will change dramatically, save, and return to the system and import changes. In this case, as you can see, the new forecast, the demand plan that I adjust is reflected in blue color. All these changes individually or in massive are marked in blue. In the same way, we can make modifications to the lead time of the product in the case that the supplier notify us of any change. We can do this for each SKU or through templates. I go to the inventory planning tab. In this tab, I'm able to review the supply plans that Streamline suggests, and I'm able to review the suggested order for the first period, or I'm able to show all the ordering plan for the following 12, 18 months as I decide. This is the ordering plan. I'm able to include also the demand forecast and the projected inventory. So in this tab, I'm able to see the ordering plan, the demand forecast, and projected inventory. I could apply filters to see only one family, one group, or I'm able to return to analyze the demand in the demand forecasting tab. If I change something at this level, a new demand, the planning inventory is affected. Also, returning to the scenarios that I speak before, we can modify the purchase price, we can modify the sales price, and also I'm able to export these parameters, change in a massive way, all of them, and then import again into Streamline. And it's an interesting functionality that can be used to simulate another kind of situation is the possibility to mark periods not available for deliveries. For example, in this moment, quarantines. I have this scenario, and let me close that. According to this demand, Streamline suggests a ordering plan and show us the projected inventory levels. But I could enable this parameter enabled ordering availability, and I could select or not if these periods are available. For example, the next month will be a quarantine. When I change this, the Streamline immediately recalculate the plan and try to anticipate if it's possible, if the lead times allow that, or adjusting in the subsequent periods. Another kind of analysis is the necessity to change products or use substitute products that can also be easily incorporated in this analysis, one by one or in a bulk, thus reflecting the existence of a new product that is linked for a previous one. This usually happens in companies, for example, that sell spare parts, but in these times it could be necessary due changes in supplier or origin of our purchase. I could select one SKU and link with a new one, or it's possible to handle a massive removal or substitution of SKUs. Each one of these changes that let me return to my PowerPoint. Sorry. Each one of these changes in demand, changes in lead time, different prices that we could modify, unavailable periods, substitute products, can be recorded and saved as the scenarios. Typically, the optimistic, the pessimistic, based on certain set of assumptions. So I'm able to save one scenario, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and compare all of them to analyze and take decisions. Finally, it's important to mention that the plans that are generated by the system can also be exported to the transactional system. The integration exists to import data and to export the final plans. It can also be done through flat files or also by a direct connection to the database. To finish, I would like to summarize the benefits of having an efficient and well-structured process. At a quantitative level, we can say that we get very important time savings, 50 to 90%, reductions in stock out between 90 and 98%, inventory reductions between 15 and 50%. Let's think about, in this situation, how much money can represent 1 or 2% of inventory. In general, take advantage of the systematization and optimization of the planning process, and especially of the speed that we can analyze the environment as it changes. We definitely generate improvements for internal and external communication, improvement efficiency, eliminate delays, decrease cost, increase profits. Finally, that is what we are looking for. Thank you very much for your time, for your attendance. And now we have a time to listen any questions. We hope we can address your concerns in the best possible way.
Thanks, Mario, for your presentation. We have a couple of questions coming in. So first from Daryl, how do you compare a forecast that one has made in the past to actual sales?
Okay, when Streamline upload the data, execute several algorithms to calculate a forecast. And they analyze the quality of the model using the last periods that are charged also. Let me show in the system, maybe I could explain a better way. Let me show the graphic panel. In this case, this SKU, I don't know if you can see, but there is a gray line that represents the, let me show in this way, that represents the history. The red line is the calculated or suggested forecast using one model that in this case is seasonal and trend. To evaluate if this is the best model that represents how the SKU moved in the past, Streamline applies that model to the last 12 periods and obtain a model error. I change in this case, for example, instead of seasonal and trend, I select linear trend. So the forecast change, the projected inventory change, apply this model to the past, the blue line, and I can see in the model the error calculated, that is 6.9 against the seasonal and trend against the 3.8. So the system performs that analysis and use the past periods to determine that. I don't know if I answer in a proper way the question.
I believe it's good answer. And also there's also reports where you can show actual sales at that period of time and the forecast at the particular given period of time as well. We will move to the next one. What is the maximum number of SKUs, regions, warehouse combinations that Streamline can handle?
Okay, that's a really good question. There's no limit. Streamline offers a free version that handle only 50 planning SKUs that are the combination of SKU, ration, and warehouse. But the licensed version of Streamline allows the planning SKUs that you need, that are the combination of warehouse, channel, region, SKU. Streamline runs on the planner machine, on the planner computer, so it's important to ensure that the characteristics of this computer are enough to run this information. But the technology that the Streamline has helps, and it is not necessary a huge computer with a lot of RAM or a lot of processing capacity. I could send you information about what's a typical machine that handle, I don't know, 2 million or 20 million of register, and is maybe 4 gigabytes in RAM or 8 gigabytes in RAM and maximum.
Awesome. I will just add quickly that it's about 2 million SKUs, and there's no limits on regions, warehouses that you would be able to handle.
Okay.
What are typical forecasting algorithms that are most often used by Streamline?
Okay, Streamline works or especially focus on analyze the time series algorithms, and as I can show you, we have seasonal and trend applied when Streamline detects in the past seasonal and trends performing, has a linear trend, constant level. In case that the data is not enough, apply a special algorithm named intermittent. In some cases, even especially when there's not enough data, assume that is a make-to-order buying SKU and apply an algorithm for pre-order. Also detect when the SKU is, how I said, in the dying period of the life, and apply inactive algorithm. And in all those cases, perform the analysis using the history and also bring us the opportunity to change some coefficients and to review some error to select the best, the one that the best fit for each SKU. There are some documentation about the statistical rules. I'm not an expert in this area, but I could share with you this paper.
We will. We'll send the follow-up emails with all the information. Okay, the next one, Vincent Ware. If the supplier informs, finally, we will supply 30 pieces in April and 70 pieces in June for 100 pieces order. Can we reflect this in Streamline?
Good question. Maybe I didn't show, but when we obtained the ordering plan that we could review here in this tab, SKU by SKU, or as a group, or in this tab oriented to inventory planning, I have the ordering plan. These planned orders are exported to our transactional or to our ERP system to execute that orders. But could happen that the supplier said, I'm not able to bring you what it's supposed to bring. So when I import the information for the next planning cycle in the mapping of the data, let me see. I have the opportunity to import the orders to receive. And if I change in the ERP the new delivery dates, when I import, I consider this new reality and Streamline recalculate our future plan.
Another from Vincent, can Streamline generate forecast of new products from the similarity to existing product?
Yes, it is possible. Let me try to show you. Where is my, okay. Okay. Let me read again the question. Yeah, okay. For new products, for the similarity to existing products, absolutely yes. It's possible to use the model from. I don't know if it's possible to for you. It's possible to see that where I'm able to establish a relationship with this previous or existing product. Or it is possible to establish a relation with a family or a group and run up to bottom forecast. So in this way, the product will take the same curve of the family, of the focus curve of the factor, right? It's also possible to apply multipliers, use the model from another SKU, but adjust the level or adjust with a factor to reflect the best situation of this new product.
Right, thank you.
Sure.
Another question, is the software able to forecast considering transfer of items between warehouses?
Okay, it's another good question because I didn't speak about that. When I talk about the supply plans, I speak about purchase plan, productions plan, but Streamline also consider the replenishment orders. If my supply chain structures include not only one distribution center, include sub-distribution centers or stores, I'm able to handle the demand at each level and translate it to the upper level to generate purchase order, production orders if I am an industry, and distribution orders. It performs an MPS, MRP, and DRP, if you are familiar with those terms. So it depends on how you load the data and establish the relations between the levels of the chain.
Thank you. We have 2 more questions so far. What is the average time that is necessary to have running the software in my business, small company? It is necessary to have technological knowledge. If
it's a small company, reflected in the number of SKUs, maybe, or the number of levels or warehouses in the supply chain, it's possible to run Streamline in a few days. The uploading process is very practical. You could start using flat files and just import in a given template and share the data. It's possible to know the basics in an hours, after an hours of training. And usually the Streamline clients worldwide in 1 month are obtaining really impressive results in terms of reduced stockouts, reduce overstocks, increase turnover. So in my experience, it would take 1 week, a couple of weeks, because it's necessary to prepare data, to share, to prepare people, to establish a process. If you have a process established, it's very fast.
Okay, thank you. The final one from Marcus Lopez. I need to simulate many scenarios of production in order to confirm material availability, but I have several planners. Streamline allows to see the same scenario in different users, or each user needs to load their own information?
Okay. In this, the main use that the Streamline has considered that a planner handle their own information. And let's suppose you have 2 or 3 planners, 1 for each production line. But as I suppose, in all production lines, when you analyze the bill of materials, there are certain common material, and we need to consolidate those requirements for a purchase plan or something like that. If you download tomorrow a Streamline and try to configure this situation, you maybe won't find how. But for projects in which this is necessary, there's a way to combine the files that Streamline handle to permit that all those planners share the same information.
Okay, awesome. Thanks a lot.
Excuse me, Lilian, if everyone could need to additional information regarding these questions, please send me an email. I'm glad to send the best information about that.